Middleweight fully fared motorcycles tier list. This is one you guys have been clamoring for. We're right off the heels of our naked middleweight motorcycle tier list video. Everything from 600 to 900-ish cc's today. Logan, I was kind of surprised there's lots of bikes in the category.
Lots of bikes in the category. You know, you hear people say, sport bikes are dying. But by the looks of it, I mean, there's a whole heck of a lot of bikes out there.
Yeah, you got stuff that's more entry level, stuff that's super ultra spicy. Let's rip the Band-Aid off and get the 600 slander out of the way. Today we're starting from smallest engines to largest engines. The first one is the GSX-R 600. Logan, what is there to say about the GSX-R that we haven't already said?
I mean, yeah, we've been talking a lot about the changing tides of middleweight sport bikes lately, and you know, I think traditional 600s, they've kind of had their moment. Maybe that moment's come to pass, or maybe it's passing before our very eyes. But, you know, for what they are, track performance, you know, it's kind of hard to beat if you're a track junkie, club racer, whatever. But for the street-going motorcyclists, you know, maybe they leave a little bit to be desired.
Yeah, the GSX-R 600 specifically, it's an older platform. Today we're talking usually in the fun factor, performance, and usefulness category. This one rated kind of mixed across the board, but ultimately we had to put it in the D tier. It is an older platform. It doesn't make as much power as some of the other bikes. It certainly doesn't have the torque. You gotta wait for the power. As Logan said, 600s have kind of had their day in the sun. And yeah, we think in terms of the pantheon of new, fully fared middleweight sport bikes you can get, GSX-R 600 D tier. Okay, Suzuki people, you can leave the video. That's it. You're not gonna hear anything else. But actually, you know what? You may be surprised later on in the video to learn where we ranked one of your other favorite Suzukis. Moving on to the next one. All right, we're gonna come at you hot, dirty, fast, and ready with this one. CBR 600RR. This is a motorcycle that functionally here in America is the same as the GSX-R 600. Actually ranked it exactly the same in terms of its position and in terms of everything else about it. Not a lot of torque, not a lot of tech, not very good for the street, not very useful. Anything you want to add as a Honda guy?
Just, highly specialized. I mean, it's a snazzy looking bike, I'll give it that.
Undertail exhaust, you don't see
Undertail
those
exhaust,
nowadays.
don't see those anymore. But yeah, just, you know, not very practical, not very usable, very specialized. And yeah, here in the States, we didn't get that sweet update that they got in Europe and Japan. So kind of outdated, D tier.
Yeah.
Hate to do it to them, but.
You got to do it to him though. Moving on. All right, the next bike features a 636cc motor, the next largest bike on our rank. You can probably guess which one it is. The venerable Kawasaki ZX-6R. I actually really love this motorcycle, Logan. We had one as a giveaway a few years back. I've ridden several on track. They are a ton of fun. They're really cool.
I mean, esteemed platform too, you know.
Truly.
Kawasaki people are known to go to bat for their bikes, but the 636 owners, tenfold, you know, they're willing to do some crazy stuff to defend this motorcycle.
That's true, and honestly, they do have something pretty good to defend. The 636 was often thought of as the more street-oriented 600, has a bit more cubes, it's tuned and geared really nice for street duty, and one of the things it has over the CBR and the GSX-R is it's been updated a lot over the years. It's got a new screen, it's got quick shifter up and down, it feels like a modern, refined motorcycle, and it might surprise you, but we're ranking it B in today's video. This is a great motorcycle. This is the type of bike that if you do want that classic Japanese four-cylinder experience, I would get a ZX-6. That's the bike I would go for. It's gonna be bulletproof reliable, it's a lot of fun, and it's got a really flashy paint job.
Bulletproof reliable, maybe not the 2025
Oh, I
model.
forgot, yeah, the bottom ends are blown out. You know what? F tier, we hate Kawasaki, get out of here. No, I'm just kidding. The ZX-6 is a sweet bike. And again, think about it this way. In these tier list videos, this is an editorial, opinion-based piece of content. We kind of think that anything in the B and above tier is gonna be a great bike. You're basically missing out on nothing. The only place that we kind of docked the ZX-6 a little bit was for usefulness. It's the type of bike that, yeah, like even though it is a little more streetable, it's still pretty uncomfortable to ride. It doesn't really have a whole lot you can do with like luggage or, you know, comfort options. It's very much a focused machine. Anything else you want to say about this one, Logan?
I think that about wraps it up.
Cool, moving on. All right, next up, it's a 649cc motor, but it's not that one. It's the CBR 650R from Honda. We just had this bike in the shop as a giveaway. It features the new E-clutch, four-cylinder motor, silky smooth Honda refinement. How does this bike strike you, Logan?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely got a more favorable balance in terms of top end inline four scream and a little bit more usable profile with, you know, accessible torque down, more mid-range power.
Yeah.
But it feels a little bit last gen, like this sort of detuned or retuned 4-cylinder thing kind of screams 2000s to me. I personally gravitate more towards, you know, a torquey twin or maybe a spicy triple. But that being said, it is a Honda, it is classic. It's got like, you know, the red and blue fairing thing is kind of iconic, you know. E-clutch is a new cool usability feature if that's something you're interested in. But like I said, maybe not, doesn't evoke very strong, excitable feelings for a lot of people, I would have to say.
Yeah, I felt the same way after using it for a while as a giveaway bike. It's heavy, it's a little boring to ride, if I may say. Don't get offended at me for saying that, but it's just not the most excitable motorcycle, but it can work really well for a lot of people. It's got those beautiful 4 pipes sticking out the side of it. It is a cool Japanese bike. For today's video, we're ranking it C+. That means that it is certainly more usable than the GSX-R600 or the CBR600RR. For more people, it can be useful. It's a pretty good commuter bike, pretty good bike to kind of rip around on twisties. Certainly not a track motorcycle, but that's not a huge consideration for today's video. But we do think the ZX6 would be a more interesting middleweight buy in this category. But Logan, they tell me that you put a pipe on this thing and it makes 190 horsepower.
You also hear that Hondas aren't safe.
They aren't safe. So that's what people tell me.
What are you gonna do?
Yep, and these are all factual information in today's video. All right, this next one, if you're a Kawasaki person, just hit the little button and just like skip the next like 40 seconds or so. 649cc motor found in the Ninja 650 is the next middleweight motorcycle we're ranking in today's video. The only redeeming quality this bike has is price. And yet, when I looked at the price, I saw that it is very close to a Ninja 500. I don't think this bike is long for this earth. I think the Kawasaki is gonna have to do something with this platform, either absorb it into the 500 and bifurcate out another middleweight motorcycle. Because Logan, there's basically nothing I like about this bike. I hate to say it, but yeah.
Yeah, and like as we were discussing, you know, there's some bikes that are pedestrian and, you know, ideal for commuting and ease of use, whatever, bikes like the Honda NC750.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't try to be cool. It's got a frunk, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
The Ninja 650 is trying a little bit too hard to be cool when it's just really not. It's just a kind of big commuter bike, you know, and if you're using it for commuting or you're a bigger rider learning it to learn, fine, you get a screaming deal on it, I'm sure, but it's not particularly exciting or cool or fun or novel or modern or attractive or, you know.
Wow. As you can tell, this motorcycle is not going to rank very well today. It is a middleweight motorcycle based solely on its displacement, but I think it has virtually nothing in common with the other bikes we're talking about today. This motorcycle is unfortunately in the F tier today. It doesn't really fit the mold for a middleweight sports bike that's fully faired. It's not exciting to ride. The ergonomics are incredibly like upright and comfortable. It's basically a naked 180-degree parallel twin bike wrapped in a sports bike look. I would take basically any other bike in this category over the Ninja 650. Sorry, 650 Ninja owners, but it just doesn't really fit. And again, we're kind of like scratching our heads wondering like why this archaic motorcycle is still in the middleweight category.
I'm not sure, but at least they have the Z900 owners to commiserate with.
Yes, that's true. The 650 guys, the Z900, you guys can just get together and form a Yami Noob hate group.
Coalition.
And, a coalition. A strong, unified front against this awful man wearing a baseball cap that keeps talking about my motorcycle. Moving on, it's a 660cc motorcycle, the RS660 from Aprilia. Now, you guys probably saw in our last week's video, we rated the Tuono 660 factory as an S-tier motorcycle. It kind of does it all, right? Great power, great ergonomics, great usability. The RS660 follows that formula. It just happens to be fully faired. It's still comfortable. Logan, it was kind of a no-brainer, right?
I agree.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, a no-brainer for sure. And this new kind of wave of middleweight, fully faired bikes, like the RS660 deserves a lot of credit for that, right? Like they were kind of the first to do the spicy parallel twin thing. They essentially lopped their V4 engine in half for a motor of its size, makes a ton of power, a lot of torque, great sound, good balanced package for different types of riding, track riding, twisty roads. You know, you could theoretically commute on it decently enough. And so yeah, it's a very sweet bike, kind of hard to knock it really in any way.
Yeah, it performs really well on road, performs really well on track. Aluminum twin spar frame, which is kind of unique in this category. I mean, some of the older 600s have that, but this is such an interesting, newer take on a street appropriate motorcycle. Something that the feedback I've seen on this bike of people who own it, like everybody enjoys it, man. This is just a fun, peppy bike. It's got a lot of character, a lot of fun factor, soul to it. We're ranking it S today, boys. We think it's one of the best. Throw it up there, Luke, come on.
Cut. I don't want to.
That was the ghost of 650 people coming at us.
There we go.
There you go. S tier, RS660. Had to do it to him. I mean, it makes sense based on what we said on the last video, and it's just a great bike, man. Like, come at me all you want in the comments, say that Aprilias are unreliable or junky. I just did a 9.5-hour ride on my Aprilia yesterday. Bike did flawlessly. Bikes are pretty good nowadays. I know that some of you are living in the past thinking that Italian motorcycle is just gonna break down every time you look at it, which is not really the case anymore. They've made a lot of strides. And again, as Logan said, you gotta give Aprilia credit where credit's due. They invented this category of like the parallel twin fun sporty bike. And it's just a great thing. It's a great package.
Yeah, tons of high-end components from top to bottom that you don't find in a lot of the competition. Some bikes we're probably gonna talk about here in a minute, between obviously the engine, crazy power output for an engine that size, the electronics, the suspension, everything, very premium, very nice.
Yeah, we love it. Moving on. The next 660 sized motorcycle is, of course, the Daytona 660 from Triumph. Now, I did a whole very detailed review on this bike. It, of course, does elicit very strong emotions in me. This is a travesty. They're serving you up slop and they expect you to eat it. Come, everybody, come, look. Look, everybody, we made a 660cc 3-cylinder engine make 95 horsepower. Oh my God! It's what I imagine a Z900 owner feels whenever I mention their motorcycle. Just this bubbling rage, this vitriolic anger coming out of my pores, because it is an emotional thing for me, Logan. I don't like seeing the Daytona namesake slapped onto such a pedestrian motorcycle.
Right. I have been, for better or worse, able to avoid this motorcycle. I've never even seen one in person, I don't think. Maybe in passing once. It's managed to elude me. I don't spend much time thinking about it, much unlike yourself.
Every morning I wake up and scream to a God I don't believe in that this motorcycle stops existing.
And I think it's kind of the, you know, the foil to the bikes like the RS660, right? Like of being like, they kind of wanted to do the same thing, but they cut a few corners here and there, or quite a few corners here and there, probably to maintain a particular price point and things like that. But, you know, it feels less special, less exciting, less performance oriented, maybe a little cheaper, one could say.
Yes, that was my takeaway with this bike, is I was shocked at how cheap it felt overall. Triumphs usually are known for being really nicely put together, really nice things to use. If you've ever ridden an original Daytona 675, the cockpit was lined in carbon fiber and you had the triple clamp was all like machined in a cool way. The 660, the new one, just feels really not like that at all. And yeah, as Logan said, it's derived from a naked bike, so it's got a steel trellis frame. They didn't do much to change the handling. It pretty much just handles like a Trident 660. So we're ranking it in the C tier today. I'm gonna put the Daytona 660 in the C tier. We find that it's pretty spiritually similar to the CBR 650R, this kind of sporty motorcycle that also is not that sporty in a certain way, and perhaps evokes feelings of a much more premium middleweight sport bike that could have been, right? The CBR moniker is like the Honda CBR 600, the Daytona moniker for the old Daytonas. But yeah, like Logan said, executing the new generation super sport thing, or like this new sporty bike thing, just not as well as a 660, not even close in our opinion. All right, next up, speaking of Daytonas, it's the 675 SS from CFMoto. Logan, where do you...
C for Chinese.
Hold on, dude, hold on. We did that last time. Let's at least think it through a little bit, okay?
Okay.
All right, so 675 SS, CFMoto, new platform, 3-cylinder engine, relatively aggressive ergonomics, kind of a cool motorcycle. It, again, kind of fits in that same mold as the Daytona 660 and the CBR 650R. You know, I guess it is C tier.
Then what was all this for?
C for Chinese, moving on. Next up, the 689cc motor found in the Yamaha R7. The YZF-R7, as Logan gave it its government name over here. When this motorcycle came out, I believe in 2021, it was the 660 versus the R7. Those were the only two like parallel twin kind of sporty bikes that existed. It came at a pretty good price point. I was worried that it was going to be an MT-07 with fairings. Yamaha did do some geometry updates, some frame updates. They did some stuff, new master cylinder. But the more time that's passed, the more I kind of view the R7 as a bit of a conundrum, Logan. Its ergonomics are really aggressive for what it is. It doesn't really have like screaming top end power. Like I could make the case for a GSX-R600 where it's like, okay, it's gonna be uncomfortable, it's gonna suck, but at least I get the scream. At least I get the four-cylinder. At least I get that track pedigree, aluminum frame. I don't really get any about the R7, right?
Yeah, the R7's kind of compromised like in multiple ways, right? It's compromised as a street bike in terms of its ergonomics package. It's compromised as a track bike, so it doesn't make a ton of top end power. It's very much become the squid bike. Like I want a bike that's fun to ride in the street, looks super cool, and then
it does look really cool.
And that's like, you know, the extent of the consideration. Yeah. But I think it leaves a little bit of to be desired in certain areas. But like you said, it's likely probably gonna get an update in the next couple of years, and that'll maybe, you know, sweeten the deal a little bit more.
Yeah, I hope that the R7 gets some of the new stuff from the MT-07. I would love to see Yamaha, if someone is listening to me, quick shifter up and down, standard on the motorcycle. That would give it kind of in line with some of the other bikes in the category. But we're ranking it a C tier today. It's unfortunately a motorcycle. Come on, there you go. Ranking it in the C tier. It exists kind of in that same pantheon as the CBR, as the Daytona 660, as the 675. You're seeing a trend here, right? But I am concerned that if Yamaha doesn't update or change this motorcycle very much, it's just gonna kind of end up in this place. But I will say, it is the best-selling model that Yamaha currently sells, and that is a big deal. As Logan said, it's priced right, it looks cool, and that parallel twin makes a way better sound than, for example, the Ninja 650. So again, you think of these motorcycles, 650 versus the R7, obviously the R7 is a much more interesting bike to ride. But when you compare it against the 660, the RS 660, there's, in my opinion, no competition. The RS revs out way more, makes like 20 more horsepower. It's way more interesting to ride, a way more better executed version of what that type of motorcycle should be.
Certainly. And yeah, and it might cost a little bit more, the RS 660, but like you get so much more bike in like every single capacity, you know? Like an R7 feels very much like kind of a, you know, second bike maybe, first bike for the right person, whereas an RS 660 is like a finisher bike. Like you buy that and keep it forever. Yeah. At least until it blows up, because it's a crap Italian bike.
It's a goddamn Italian piece of junk. One more thing I wanted to say is similar to the Daytona 660, the R7 suffers a little bit from like a cheap, chintzy feel to it. The top of the fork tubes look a little cheap. Like when you're on the bike, it has a bit of like a toy feeling to it, which is not what you want from a Yamaha R bike product. But they may be doing that on purpose because the new R9, as you guys probably saw in my review by the time this video goes out, feels like a super premium experience. So they may be intentionally segmenting it to be a little bit more on that cheaper side. And it is a Japanese bike. It's never gonna feel ultra premium like an Aprilia RS660 or a Ducati or something like that. So R7, C tier, we feel like it's pretty fair. Next up, 749 cc's of inline four Fury. Here we go. The Gixxer 750.
What more can be said about this motorcycle? Haven't these guys had enough already?
They think we're gonna put it at F tier. They think we're gonna say it's old and terrible and it's F tier. And look, some of those things may be true. It is old, but it's not terrible. It's a great motorcycle for the right person, right? It's similar to a GSX-R600 or CBR600RR. But where this motorcycle differs is much like the ZX6, it has a beefier engine, which makes more torque, which makes it a little bit better for street duty. But it's still very uncomfortable to ride. It's a bike that's failed its way upwards. But we think, given the fact that it has a bigger engine, a bit of flavor and character about it, is a little bit unique. What are you feeling, Logan?
We're not allowed to do F?
We're not allowed to do F. People get too angry at us. And it's not an F tier bike.
I think we had landed, again, in a vacuum, right? On its own, doing what it's good at. I think a B is fair.
B tier for the Gixxer 750. Don't say we never did nothing for you, okay? sitting right there alongside the ZX6. We think that's fair. The ZX6 obviously has more tech. It's a newer bike. It's at least updated. The frame's changed over the last, I think, 6 or 7 years. The GSX-R750 is a dinosaur bike, but it's a good dinosaur bike. At least it's not like a Honda XR650L or something like that. It's at least got enough character and charm and flavor that it's a good motorcycle, but boy, it's long in the tooth, right? It's got nothing on it, nothing. So the creature comforts, no cruise control, no quick shift up and down. The character and nature of the engine is an inline four. It's super uncomfortable to ride. So as a street bike, very compromised, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially just like retro chic at this point. Like it's cool because it's old. And like I said, good at what it's designed to do and not much else.
Yeah.
So
it's firmly a beacher motorcycle. If you can put up with some of the nonsense of owning such an old platform, good on you. You're gonna have a lot of fun. You're gonna enjoy it. If you're an old soul at heart, you just want a bare bones, no frills, nonsense motorcycle. It's just gonna run and turn over every time. It's a cool bike. It's gonna do really great on track too. But if you want a more complete street motorcycle, something more interesting and fun to ride, the next couple of bikes are gonna be the ones you're gonna want. Next up, 776cc parallel twin 270 crank found in none other than the GSX-8R. Now, Logan, the Lord giveth by using the GSX-R750 as a B tier, and the Lord taketh by what we're about to say. This is going to ruffle some feathers, but I honestly believe in what I'm saying. I'm not doing this for engagement, for clicks, for stupid reasons. This is what's truly in my heart and soul. What do you think about this motorcycle before I wax poetic about it?
Yeah, I mean, thinking about in the grand scheme of motorcycling as a whole, the way a majority of people ride their motorcycles, it starts to be a very interesting proposition, right? You get the fun, usable, torquey engine. You get the fairings, which, you know, people like. It looks so cool, it looks sick. But it's not backbreaking to ride. It's decently comfortable, kind of maybe a spiritual successor to some older like 90s, 2000s sport touring bikes. So bearing that all in mind, you know, it's starting to look like a pretty good package. Good, fairly well priced too. Obviously being a Suzuki product, they're usually pretty decent on pricing, pretty good.
So fairly priced, under 10 grand. I had this bike as a giveaway, and as much as I hated to admit it, it is a super complete motorcycle. As Logan said, it makes enough power and torque to have fun pretty much everywhere. It feels a lot like the RS660 in the way that it delivers that power. It's punchy, it's fun, I mean, anyone could do anything with this bike. And I think in the current modern era, this is an A-tier bike, man.
Yeah,
this is an A-tier. This is a great motorcycle.
Yeah, and it's got, you know, a handful of advantages over the R7.
We gotta
go for it. I keep almost getting hurt trying to get these up here.
Logan's not as flexible as I am.
Yeah, all that hot yoga.
All that hot yoga I be doing.
Like when you look at, you know, the type of rider that gravitates towards an R7 versus the type of rider that gravitates towards a GSX-8R, some things in common and some things are different. The 8R is maybe a more mature rider that sees the benefit of more comfortable ergonomics, a little more usable bike, versus the ultra cool, stylish R7, right? But very popular platform too, seeing a ton of people riding these bikes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, like the R7, if it's one of behind the GSX-R750, one of Suzuki's more popular models these days.
Yeah, and it's the type of bike where it doesn't feel like it's trying to be an ultra sporty product. It doesn't feel cheap either, which is really nice. The new Suzuki stuff feels really good. Like it comes with a quick shifter up and down from the factory. It's got a nice looking screen. It's basic, but it looks nice. It's a nice thing to own and live with. The one I had in yellow looked cool. It had some cool look back factor to it. Like, yeah, it's just a really complete good motorcycle. I hate to admit it because it is kind of boring and silly, but I can't dock it, man. It's just a really good bike. And I had a lot of fun riding it. I can't lie. Next up, 890 cc's of 3-cylinder fury. It is the Yamaha R9. The new kid on the block, the newest bike, as I said in my review, a bike that's received so much speculation and rumors for the last 10 years, and I think delivered them reasonably well. Logan, it delivered it reasonably well. How does this bike strike you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, it might be controversial to say. I think it is a great addition to Yamaha's lineup, you know, as someone who appreciates the versatility of a motorcycle, right? Like as a more civilian attitude towards riding, you know, not doing track days, not doing racing, things like that. I can accept where it falls short in those ways while still being far more advantageous for street riding, city riding in ways that the R6 could, you know, never live up to really.
Yeah.
It certainly has presence and substance compared to something like an R7. It does feel like a very premium product. Tons of really high-end features, great look-back factor. Winglets are a little silly for my taste, but you know, it's 2025, what can you do? So yeah, I maybe it's controversial to say, but I think it's a pretty darn sweet bike.
Yeah, I think so too. And to your point, if the R6 still existed, we probably would rank it somewhere in the D tier area, but the R9 is a great bike. There's no added like tech features or anything. You get everything you get with the bike. So cruise control, quick shift up and down. The ergonomics are a bit old school. It's almost like they made concessions to like old R6 owners to make the bike more uncomfortable than it needed to be. That was something that I mentioned in my review that I'm like, wow, it's like really kind of old school in the way that it sits. But that 3-cylinder motor, tons of torque, really nice to use. All the electronics and features you could want on this motorcycle, strikes a decent balance between having good track performance, good road performance. Looks really cool, as Logan said. And over the GSX-8R, for example, like just way faster, way more power, like 40 more horsepower. So this is a serious machine. What are we thinking? I think like it's somewhere A to S maybe, like kind of in the middle there.
I mean, yeah, the A is looking a little bit hollow, as is the S. I guess
like
we're just tough critics. Yeah,
there. A plus.
A plus. I think that's fair.
A plus. It's somewhere between those two. There you go, Logan. Somewhere between those two is the R9. And I do think when you look at this ZX6 versus GSX-R750, the R9 does execute better than both of those.
Yeah,
with cruise control, with quick shift up and down. The ZX6 has that, but the R9 has, you know, better torque characteristics. And apparently the boys over at Two Wheel Dyno Works are getting these things to pump out 140 wheel horsepower with just like flash exhaust and a couple mods. So
it's starting to sound like a 675 SS.
Yeah, I mean, those are 675 SS numbers right there. So it's highly capable, highly fun to ride, and it's the type of bike that has a lot of potential locked away in it. There are some weirdness. If you want my full detailed thoughts on this bike, my full review just came out. It is our new giveaway bike as well, so go and check that out. But yeah, it's a solid A+ motorcycle. All right, Logan, it's the end of the video. Let the glaze fest begin, baby. No one's watching at the end. It's fine. Panigale V2S. Where do you think this one's gonna land? Come on.
S for spaghetti.
S for spaghetti. Of course, it's an S tier motorcycle. Come on. If you've ridden this motorcycle, it's so good. It's so f***ing good. But Logan, tell us a little bit about your experience with it.
Yeah, it's probably the most interesting motorcycle I've ridden maybe ever, if not in a long time, in terms of like, it's exotic, but it's approachable. It's like sporty, but easy to ride. It's like super cool looking, but also kind of weird looking. Like it's very much like an enigma motorcycle. And so I can understand why that's, you know, it's a polarizing bike amongst hardcore Ducati fans, but as a just average Ducati enjoyer, I think it was super sweet. Really exciting bike to ride, like I said. Yeah, kind of hard to wrap your head around it. It's doing a bunch of different things really good in this like weird, contradictory way. I think it's awesome. I had zero complaints with my time with it.
Yeah, I did too. I loved it. I loved owning it as a giveaway. It was one of the harder ones to say goodbye to. And it's a bike that for me, much like when the RS 660 came out, that had a lot of people like scratching their heads. They're like, aluminum twin spar frame, but parallel twin, like what's going on with this bike? To me, the Panigale V2S legitimately is a brand new take on a type of motorcycle. I've never ridden any bike quite like it. It's so lightweight, but yet it's so torquey, and yet it's so easy to ride, but it's sporty enough to where you can absolutely shred it on track. It's so good. The only downside is the price. It's an eye-watering like $19,000, but if ever there was a time to say it, you do get what you pay for. It is a really, really good bike. The only downside is price. And if you're an old Panigale V2 owner, you might, you know, be like, oh, it's down power, 35 horsepower or whatever, but none of that is relevant, really. If you ride the bike, it's amazing.
Yeah, the only thing that is working against it is the price and the fact that it carries the Panigale name. I think that creates certain expectations that people, you know, no Desmos, no single-sided swing arm, all that stuff. But yeah, in a standalone, like I said, we keep saying in a vacuum, it's like so sick. And yeah, kind of enigmatic and confusing, and like it's all these contradictions and stuff, but that's what they say. That's the nature of faith. It's holding two contradictory ideas in your mind at once or something.
Wow. Like that. What a beautiful way to end the video. Well, hopefully you can hold two contradictory ideas in your brain at once and leave me a nice comment down below despite your vitriolic hatred for me. on the 600 rankings. Thank you so much for checking out today's video. Hope you had some fun with these middleweight, fully fared motorcycle tier list. Let us know what you think. Do you agree with our rankings? I think we're reasonably fair. We tried to be comprehensive with this. We're not trying to farm engagement. We're not trying to explicitly be, contradictory or controversial to have engagement from it. This is legitimately what I believe in this category as a relatively experienced motorcyclist and motorcycle content creator. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.